I always had a side hustle. I never had just one job.
Today on the show, we sit down with the founder of Success Bully and professional butt kicker, Keita Williams. Keita shares her keys to achieving goals in your professional life. This is The Career Cue, the podcast focused on helping you navigate the signals in your career to keep you growing and moving forward in business and in life. Here's today's host, Danna Redmond.
So today we're going to be talking with Keita about the keys to achieving your goals in your professional life. Welcome, Keita.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have you here. From when I first heard about Success Bully and having met you recently, I knew you'd be a great guest on our show. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. This is so cool.
So let's start out. Tell me more about Success Bully. What is Success Bully?
Oh, wow. So Success Bully best can be described as I'm a professional butt kicker. I think that's the best way to describe it. I work with individuals and in some organizations, literally looking at goals and breaking them down into bite-sized pieces. So for like professional development, if you're looking to find a new job, there are steps you take, right?
Right.
There are no coincidences in life, right? So kind of looking at what's the big goal, breaking it down into a 90-day sprint. So like, what are we trying to accomplish in the first 90 days? What are those benchmarks at 60? And what are the benchmarks at 30? And then I give you action plans. So depending on how much handholding you need, if you need to talk to me every week, that's a premium. If you need to talk to me every other week, then we break out your action plan accordingly and we work towards the goal. So I don't consider myself a life coach because like, I don't help you self-actualize. Like I'm not into the psychology of it all. I can't answer the question, who am I? I can help you refine a goal. Like we can make it smarter and get it done. So
that's awesome. Okay, so take me through a little bit this process. Like, I love this. You called it an accountability practice.
Yeah.
Somebody says, my goal is I want to find a new job, or I'm out there looking for a new job.
Okay.
So where do you go from there with somebody?
Well, I think from, and not to give away all the secret sauce, look, people pay me for this. In terms of like job hunting, I think there are levers that you pull, right? So with that, I would do a deep dive, like, what are we trying to accomplish here? Like, are you just looking for a title change? Do you want to go to a different different career? Like, let's be really clear on what it is you're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to go to a smaller organization? Are you trying to go to a larger organization? Because that changes the way that we would approach it. And then I try to parallel track with that. And so there's the organic reach out to your network. What are you doing within your immediate circle? And then there's a traditional, like, send out resumes. There is something to be said about the power of 10. So like any action that you do 10 times, you're going to produce some sort of result.
Oh, okay.
So if you aren't sending out 10 resumes, no wonder no one's called your ass. But also the same thing, like if you're not getting out and meeting people, if you aren't setting the benchmark of 5 new people a week, you can't expect this like job to find you, you know? And so I think, with that, it's celebrating the process, because job hunting or job changing or career shifts, it can play really hard on your self-esteem and that self-worth. Right. Where you're like, no one's calling me.
Right. Nobody loves
I'm
me.
unemployable, or whatever the case may be. And especially like if you are finding yourself in a period of, I call it fun employment. If you're in a period of fun employment, like there's that stress element of, your revenue's not coming in like you want it to, and bills have to be paid. Who knew? There's definitely a different approach with, keeping calm and not making any choices out of desperation, and just there's a method to the madness.
I love that, the method. Okay, so talk to me a little bit more about how did you get to be a Success Bully? How did you get here?
Oh my goodness, this is an incredible story. Best told over wine, but I'll tell it here.
Thank you. Over coffee.
Coffee. Sorry, cleaning it up, people. This is a buttoned up podcast. I think I've always been an overachiever, if that's the best way to describe it, and very type A, and really no one ever told me I couldn't do something. Like my mom you can do it.
I love that.
And so with that, I've always been on military time. Like I had 3 sisters and my father died when I was fairly young. So my mom kept us very regimented. And that kind of bled through my entire life of being a regimented person and knowing that, okay, if this is the big goal, this is how we have to work it out, whatever. And like, I was kind of reviewing, like, why, how did I get here? How and why? I had a study buddy in college. Like I was on an academic scholarship at Northwestern, go Cats. And like I had to maintain a 3.5 GPA to keep my scholarship. And my study buddy wanted to go to medical school. And I'm pleased to say that my study buddy is a neonatologist now.
Awesome.
And so like we had this whole system where like we had a schedule, like we studied every day, Monday through Sunday. We did nothing academic after 3 p.m. on Friday. And like literally we had a schedule that we kept each other on.
Wow, good for
and
you.
Like calling each other, hey, you're not at the library. And so like that piece. And then kind of navigating, I had a health crisis in 2011 where I was like deathly ill and had to make a full recovery, and breaking those down into steps where it was like every day I had to do something to get a little stronger, to get more healthy. And I'm pleased to say that I'm 6 years out and I'm made a full recovery and doing better than anyone ever thought I could. And all of that, breaking the big goal down into little steps and tracking and checking where you are, I think all of that plays into what Success Bully is. But what triggered all of this is that I fell completely on my face. Complete and utter career catastrophe where I had been living in New York for 11 years and I had this like rockin' PR career and decided in my late 30s that it was time to get out of New York. And got recruited out here to work on a big product launch with a global brand that will remain nameless. And, you know, moved across country. And I think I like totally underestimated the Seattle market. And I'm like this hot shot out of New York. I didn't do the hiring loop. They made me an offer on a informational meeting. So I come in, you know, jazzy pants. Literally, I was dressed like a New Yorker everywhere, like way too fashionable. And like a year to the date, I was back out in the job market.
Wow.
And then being more senior, there were limited PR roles for me here. And really had a whole crisis on what's next for my career. What does this look like? I was aging out of PR. Like, let's be honest, you don't see many gray-haired PR people. Like, it just doesn't happen. They own the agency and, you know, go beyond. Right? So like, it was this really weird crisis of who am I and what am I going to do next? Anyway, I saunter into a women's breakfast called the F-Bomb Breakfast Club. Check it out. We swear it's great. And so this is in January 2017. I'm still trying to figure myself out, like twists and turns. And I'm sitting in this circle of women and we're going around and introducing ourselves. And the question on the floor was, who are you? What do you do? Bitch or brag? And what are your goals for 2017? And I'm freaking out. I do not know how to answer this question. Like, and it was in that moment where you're like, do I go full vulnerable and like tell everybody that I'm not fine? Or do I go, I'm okay.
I'm good. Look at me.
I'm this great PR person. But I guess in that moment I was like, well, you know, I don't know these people, whatever. So I went full vulnerable and started blathering on. Not exactly sure what I said. But I did realize that 2016 was a tough year for me and a number of my contemporaries. And so I gotten into this thing where I was like writing their stuff down in my calendar where like literally, oh, you want to write a book this year? Okay, well, I'm going to need the outline by January 30th. And so I make this comment in this breakfast and I land the plane with, this is what I'm doing for my friends. I'm like a success bully. Let me know if you want me to kick your butt too. Literally said it as a joke because I was uncomfortable. And directly after breakfast, like 6 women walked up to me like, that's a brilliant idea. I could totally use something like that. And it sparked an idea. And then, you know, I'm in this community of female founders who are like launching and scaling their own businesses. And suddenly I had a tribe, right?
Right.
And so it's this tribe of folks like, yeah, you can do it. Woo! And so cut to, I ran home bought the URL. All the social channels were available. So I thought that was a sign from God that I got Success Bully on Instagram. Follow me, whatever, guys. So like, I reach out to my older sister, who is my personal success bully. If I'm an overachiever, she's 3 times that, right? And so she like lives in China. She speaks, reads, and writes Mandarin, and you know, just fabulous life, right? So I call her up like, "Hey, Yanni," her name's Yanni. "This is what I'm thinking about doing." To which she replies, "Listen, Keita, I'm on my layover in Prague. I couldn't possibly deal with this right now. Write me a business plan. We'll talk about it." I was pissed. I just wanted to talk to my sister. And so anyway, in a week, I wrote a business plan and immediately started taking on clients. Like, this is what this looks like. Trying to,
right.
Like, hey, work with me on this. I'm experimenting. Full intention of getting a job. Like, full intention. Like, yeah, this will be a fun little thing to do while I get a job. And so it's turned into my job.
I love that. I mean,
it's been this like combination of serendipity and just amazing people that have helped and supported. And like, I feel like my vision gets clearer and more clear and more clear. Hold on. What's the best whatever. Scratch my grammar, people. But anyway, all of a sudden I felt like I had figured it out. Where like encouragement is a natural talent for me, and I've always been that rah friend.
Right,
I'm always your friend. Right. Get it, girl, you can do it. And so taking that natural ability to rah and my penchant for Excel sheets and anal retentive behaviors, if you will, and like combining all of that and not having to fit into any boxes. There's no one reeling me in.
Right.
I found that like I've
it'd be hard to reel you in,
which
Keita,
could
admittedly.
be a bad thing. But like I know in my corporate career, I would come up with these really creative concepts, and then either I didn't get to pitch them because I wasn't senior enough to, or like, my boss was a great idea and they'd be in a shiny deck and I'd have to do all the research and put it all together. And then I didn't get to go to the meeting and go, "Bow, this is my idea." Or it was like, "Reel it in, kid. You're coming in hot and you need to reel it in." And so I get to write and be creative and like inspire people and push them, as I think there's so many people with amazing ideas and that like literally multi-million dollar ideas, and all they need is a nudge. Like someone going, "You can do this. You're going to chill out on this piece. You're going to focus on these 3 things. Do that this week." And it's been incredibly rewarding. And I feel like I haven't stopped talking for 10 minutes. I'm going to stop. Next question.
I love you, Keita. Oh, my God.
What am I even talking about at this point?
But let's talk a little bit, like, why is accountability so hard for an individual, you think? Like, why do you need to exist? Or why does Success Bully need to exist?
Okay, well, I can answer that. There's something to be said about having a third party saying, "Come on now." Like I have no skin in the game. Like I want you to be successful because I'm a good-natured person and I want you to be successful and happy, right? But if you have a relative tell you the same thing that I tell you, you're going to see it through a different lens, right? Or if you have a spouse tell you the same thing I'm telling you, you're going to like, "Are you nagging me right now?" Like it's going to come across a whole different way.
Right.
And so I think in the areas where I've had the most growth in my own personal life, I've had that person or like outside who had no skin in the game who are like, "Okay, let's do this. Let's focus on this. Let's do that. Let's work through it." And so that's why I feel it needs to exist. And I think there are people that are like, whenever someone asks me what I do for a living, they're immediately fascinated by it. Like, "What does that mean? How would you work with me?" I'm like, "Settle down. I only work with champions." Yeah, I get to say crazy stuff. It's my company.
I love that. Well, let's take a break. And when we come back, let's talk more about accountability.
Sure.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to check out the show notes at thecareerq.com, where you can also subscribe to the podcast and sign up for our newsletter.
Welcome back. We are talking with Keita, who is a success bully and really helps people with their accountability. And this has been a fascinating topic for me, Keita. So here's something I want to talk about. Have you seen accountability gone wrong? Well,
I think where I see it go wrong, or what I've seen happen that's wrong, I think it's when the target keeps moving, right? And so if I try to keep things tight, like we're committing to get this done. So like if there's shiny objects over here, that's great. Thank you. Like glad you're creative, but put that in your world domination notebook. We're focusing on this. So like when I think that's the piece where it can go wrong is like getting distracted by shiny objects. And that's my job as your accountability practitioner or whatever, accountability partner, looking for a really great word. That's my job, is to say, no. Matter of fact, I need you to write that down. We'll revisit that in Q4. Like, that's going to take you off path, and then you're not going to see any results, and you're going to be pissy with me because you didn't see any results. Right.
So if you're somebody's going after too many things, it's like choose your main focus.
Well, like there's this, I really believe in this, that like I think part of the reason, especially like when you look at like New Year's resolutions, like I just did a whole thing about checking in the middle of the year. You try to like change your whole life. Like you give yourself this long laundry list, like there's something wrong with you. Like, I need to lose 35 pounds. I need to mend fences with my sister. I need to get a new job, and I need to, I need to do Tai Chi 3 times a week. And you have all these things that you're trying to accomplish, and you're not doing anything well, because you're pulling yourself in so many different directions, right? And so whether that's personal development, professional development, if you can narrow your focus and really like get crystal clear and keep those blinders on, you'll find that all that other stuff straightens itself out.
Right.
Because like when you start putting the practices in place to create the habits, because success is a series of habits. When you put those things into place, that bleeds into other areas of your life. You'll find that like if you just focus on losing that 10 pounds, and that's your meal prep, that's your exercising, you'll find that you time manage everything else around that. And you'll find that you're moving forward in all these other places as well. So
Right. I love that idea of getting focused and that concept of putting the blinders on, like on those
like
racehorses, right?
Like
and
you're stay in your lane.
Yep. You were heading for that one thing. And I do love, I said, I think you called it your world domination notebook. I'll call it the parking lot, whatever. But right. You just like, that's an interesting idea. Yes. Maybe besides want to get a new job, I also want to, get this new skill, pick one of those and go for that.
Yes. And then you'll find that like once you've knocked that out the way, you have the time to do the next thing. I actually had a friend call me up, and you would be surprised like how much, like literally I get a lot. A lot. Let me ask you this, Keita. And I'm like, that's what people pay me to do, but okay. And it was like literally when she was describing what she was working on, it made me exhausted. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to advise you to get something off your plate, and that's all I'm going to do right now because you're not performing well. You're tired. You're feeling all this unnecessary pressure that you put on yourself. You gave yourself all these deadlines. Like no one told you to do all this stuff. You took it all on. So you can actually undo some of this.
Right, right. Well, and it's so interesting. I've been reading a book called The Chaos Imperative. And it talks about one of its big pieces is this need for white space in your life to then be able to free up, your brain to have these creative thoughts or whatever. And it sounds like that's some of it, right? Like focus on one thing, and take some of that other stuff out so that you've got some
all the noise.
White space out there to use your brain on. I love that. Okay. So I've heard about like accountability circles.
Yeah.
Is that similar? Like, what do you think of accountability circles?
Well,
what's out there?
Thanks for the great lead in. I actually have one of these. So like, so I have an accountability circle through my Lean In group. So I have a Lean In Success Bully circle, but I'm actually rolling out workshops that do this thing. And that is, how I structure it is like we come in and we focus on one thing. We talk through it. We come up with some strategies, and then everyone in the group commit to what they're going to do in the next 30 days. and then you got to bring it in the next 30 days. Like, I don't want to say public humiliation, but there is some element of you have a whole group of people that are cheering for you,
right,
who are going to be disappointed when you don't deliver. But, we're not going to kick you out of the group. We don't vote you off the island. But there's something to be said about, like, keeping each other on task.
Yes. Yeah.
And like that, okay, this is what you all committed to. And like, I'll put it in the Facebook group, like, per our last conversation, this is what everybody's owning.
Right.
And so I think I don't know how other people structure theirs because, like, I don't really follow along with how other people do it. But the important piece is that publicly declaring what you're committing to. And there's power in saying and then having to do. Part of the reason why I can't quit, because, as an entrepreneur, there are days where you're like crying in your home office, like, I'm doing this. I can't quit because I have publicly committed to this in so many different ways. Like, it's all over the interwebs. Like, if you Google me right now, Success Bully comes up, not anything else I've done.
Right.
Right. And so there's some power in knowing that I have said it. Yeah. And I have publicly declared that this is what I'm doing. And, hey, my family's bought into it where, for a while my mom was like, get a job.
So when are you going to?
Did you send out any resumes today? Like, you do understand this is what I do now. So, there's power in that publicly laying it on the line. So.
Got it. So I love that. I mean, I can totally understand that power of just putting it out there with a few friends or, with like some group. And then because you've done that, you
got to own it.
Right. You're much more obligated to do it. Right.
And I would say in that friend circle, if you want to do this with your friends, do it with your friends that'll tell you look fat. Do it with your friends that'll tell you are not buying that pair of pants. The friends that are like, who know where their bodies are buried,
right.
Those friends that know what you did in college. Like, I feel like they're better accountability buddies.
Right, it's because you don't want anybody too soft.
You need that
bully
you
piece
need
to it.
That friend will call you on your BS. Like, so you didn't get it done because...
And just wait.
Yeah.
That uncomfortable pause, waiting for you to fill in your really lame excuse.
That happened, so you didn't want to do it, is what you're saying.
Yep.
So, that's my recommendation.
Yeah, I love that. So put it out there. And I think that piece of being accountable to others and, and having them know, I love that. You've said, you've put this out there. This is what you're doing. And so you feel compelled, like Success Bully is you now. You can't just going. Like, oh, just kidding. I didn't want to do that anymore.
Hey guys, I was just playing around.
Yeah.
Going back to my desk now.
And to a certain extent, right, you get, I think, some of your ego out there when you say you're going to do something, especially to a group.
Oh, yeah. Pride. That pride will get you every time. Yeah. There's something like in the times where I've seen this gone awry in a group setting is when someone's like, I didn't do it. And everyone's like, what? Why didn't you? And like we're the group is still understanding, but when you have to walk through why you didn't complete your task, and when you really analyze why you didn't do it, short of a catastrophe, right? There really is no excuse.
Right.
Like, you're in charge of your time. You didn't prioritize it, right? And like get peeling back the layers of that onion where like, well, my dog died and then I have this thing at work. And like, no, you didn't prioritize this because you would have put all those things in the buckets they needed to go in to get this done. There is some like power in that truth.
Right.
Like when you have a group going, so.
and that's it, right? When you're having to talk to somebody else about and explain your whys, you are figuring out.
Yeah, like I really didn't have an excuse.
Right. Yeah. I really should have sent out those. My goal was to send out 5 resumes or to update my LinkedIn profile. And really
I just didn't do it.
Right.
Yeah. And I tell my clients, if we're doing like bi-monthly check-ins or, whatever our cadence is, like, I don't care if you do break this into little pieces and do it every day. I don't care. I care that it's done. So like when I talk to you, if you do it 45 minutes before you talk to me, I'm going to know because you're going to sound out of breath. But
Right.
I want it done, you know?
Yes,
So
yeah.
like that's up to you on if you want to be like burn the midnight oil and be the night before the papers due kind of person. That's up to you. As long as it's done.
Yep.
So,
Because you've publicly stated your big goal.
Yeah.
And you've broken it down into these little pieces. And you're right. It's just getting to those little pieces to make that big thing. And so, and that's probably some places where people sort of individually are like, oh no, I'm
well, I think we
late,
get
or
caught
I'm-
up in the size of the goal, right? We get so caught up into this big thing and like, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, it's going to be this. Super. What did you do today? Like what, okay, we fundamentally know what steps we need to take to get there, but what did you actually do? And so that's where I feel like I really excel is like pulling people back.
Right,
Like,
right.
I know this is huge. You wouldn't have called me if it wasn't huge, right?
Right.
But reeling you back in, I know it feels like a lot of work, but here's what we're going to focus on in the next week or 14 days. Just focus on these things. Then we're going to add a little more.
Right,
Then
right.
we're going to add a little more. And those little W's, as I like to call them, the little wins,
yeah.
that'll give you that momentum to keep going. Because it's
Yeah.
going to be hard. If it was easy, you would...
Right. You would have
everyone
already done all this
You
great
would have
stuff.
done it.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if it was a super attainable goal, you wouldn't need my help.
Right. So I love, so big goal, little goals, and then that accountability, right? I love that. And I love the count the W's, right? Count those little wins, because sometimes that's just what you need to like, okay, I did do this. I did update my LinkedIn profile. Yay. Now I need to update my resume, let's say. I was successful one place. I can be successful.
Exactly. It's
my
building
next step.
on the wins, you know, and I think we forget to celebrate the joy in the actions. We are so quick to celebrate the results.
Yes.
But there are so many pieces that go into the big W or the big goal. Like we have to celebrate and throw confetti and well, I literally like to throw confetti, but like we need to celebrate those actions that get you there. And I think this is my caveat on resumes, and I have to put this out there for all of the interwebs to hear. It's never done. It's never done.
Right.
So get it out of your head that you're going to complete your resume. It is a work in progress, and it should change and shift and evolve based on what you're going after. So it's never done. So I think knowing that it's never done does take a little bit of pressure off, where like you need to go back and refine it. You need to revisit it quarterly. If you're not proactively job hunting, you should, instead of making it a big, heavy lift, when you do something cool, add it to your resume, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Like that's great advice.
Add
right
the bullet
there.
point
Yep,
and
yep.
hit the save button and move on. So it's not like this big daunting task, and then you waste 3 weeks doing the big daunting task when like.
Right. If it had been a
I
little
had
bit of
this
updated.
cool campaign. These were the results. This is what it hit. This is the success. Bullet point. Boom.
Yep. Done. I love that. So I can honestly talk about accountability and success bully for a long time. Keita, you're a very fun interview. But I want to move us into some of our standard questions
Yes, please,
that we ask all of our guests here. So what was your first job?
Okay. So I was always an entrepreneurial kid. And so my first self-managed job, I was a party clown.
Party clown?
Yeah. And
Okay, give us an age on party clown. No?
Nope, high school.
Okay.
It was high school. It was very painful.
Did you have a party clown name?
Not even
No?
going there. No, because I don't want anybody finding these pictures on the internet. I don't need that in my life right now. I'm building a whole separate brand. Okay? Just know. If you look
clown is out there.
hard enough.
Feels like a challenge.
Listen,
First listener
I'm
to
sure
find Keita the clown.
It's a whole
present.
thing. It's a whole thing. And so I did like children's birthday parties. And yeah, it's wearing oil-based clown makeup in your adolescence does nothing for your skin. So just so then, I'm already an awkward, nerdy kid, and now I'm a party clown, and now it made my skin worse. So that was very short-lived. I was really into baking and like would sell cakes in high school, and yeah, it was just weird. Like my mom would let me do these things. I think I might have been. I was a tween when I was selling cakes, and clown stuff was when I was a freshman in high school. And then my proper first job, where I actually like punched a clock, I worked at Walgreens Pharmacy as a pharmacy tech.
Wow.
in high school. Which, like, again, who let you do that? Guess I was smart.
Exactly. I mean, that says something about you.
Yeah. So I like literally, and it was up the street from our house, and sometimes I would walk to work. Sometimes I got a ride. And I did that.
From any of those first jobs, I mean, what do you think you still use? Like, I love that entrepreneurial spirit. I can see that coming out now. What do you think?
Well, I think there's the creativity. And then there's so many ways to make money that like you should never stress about it, because like if you really thought about it, you have some skill set that you can use to make money, like if you need to supplement your income, if you're a strong writer, copyright,
right.
Like there's so many different things. And I think that's kind of the ongoing thing. Cause like even with a corporate career and during my corporate years, I always had a side hustle. I never had just one job, and, that's now that I think, I don't even know why I did that, but like I always liked I like the security of my corporate gig, but then I like the fun and the creativity and the interesting things I could do as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So.
And I love that. I think even so much so in today's economy, and they call it the gig economy.
It is.
There's plenty of those skills you can take out there and put together a full, very robust career for yourself, or at least a robust way of making money. Right. And sustaining life.
And like I think that has kind of been my thought pattern with how I'm going to grow and build this business. And that like, it's my baby, right? And so it can be whatever my baby wants to be. And if that is, pure content play, fine. If it's, continuing the one-on-one coaching, building out workshops, apparently I do well in a public speaking setting. Who knew? Who knew? These are all things I'm learning as I go. And so like, what is like, it's going to evolve, and being comfortable that it's going to evolve. Like my corporate career there were only so many directions it was going to go because I was very specialized, like tech, PR, mobile focus. There are only so many places I could go, right? And like, I feel like if tomorrow I wanted to pack a toothbrush and a pair of underwear and just go to Europe, I could totally keep doing this,
Right.
Not that I would do that. I think I would pack a few more things, but cracking myself up.
So, Keita, what have you read or listened to lately that you would recommend to others? Like, where do you get inspiration?
I'm usually not really squishy woo-woo, but I've been reading The Universe Has Your Back.
Oh.
Was it Gabrielle Bernstein?
Okay.
So I've been reading that in small doses. Like I got to do a chapter, I think I got to space it out. And it's just kind of that whole, I think it's really easy to spiral in negative thinking. And like, oh, everybody's out to get me. Or like you get into that pattern where, and I think a big piece for me is keeping my head in the game. Mm-hmm. And so, there are no people outside with picket signs protesting that you can't live your dream, or you can't have what you want, or you can't have the promotion, or you like literally, unless you're like a covert operative, there's no movement to get you, right?
Right.
So on the other side of things, that means that like there's this world of possibilities out there, and it's how you see it and how you think of it. Like that's so critical. So I'm doing a little more reading around like the thought,
right?
The power of thought.
Yeah,
so.
I love that. The universe has your back. Okay, I'm looking that one up. All right. So here's one of my favorite questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Keita, what would your 90-year-old self say to you? If 90-year-old Keita walked in that door, what's she going to say?
I think she would say, "You are too fab." Oh my gosh. No,
you are fab. To be clear, you are fabulous.
I would hope the 90-year-old version of me would carry whiskey in her handbag and, hug all the young men at church. I would just love to be that dirty old woman. Like we all know her. That's what I aspire to be.
My 90-year-old self wants to be your 90-year-old.
Like, I want to wear like matching hats, and like I have a whole vision of what this looks like. And I want to be spry, you know, like I don't want to be like all like, oh, somebody help her up the steps. I want to be like, move, people. And I would hope that my 90-year-old self would be like a more, you know, I think I'm rolling hard and fast into 40. You know, like I know that my skin would lead you to believe I'm not a day over 27, but we're like, I see 40. It's real close, and we're shaking hands. And I find that the older I get, the more comfortable I am in my skin. And like, there is that self-assuredness where you're like, no, that's not going to fly. And you're like building these little boundaries. And, you know, I've got this new level of bravery as an entrepreneur where like, I have to lay the hammer down every now and again. And so where I'm going with this, I feel like 90-year-old version will have already been there. And she'll go, you know what, kid? You did it. You did it. We did it. You know?
Yep.
And I would hope that that's what my 90-year-old self would say getting off of her private jet with her host of young men that carry things for her, with her whiskey in her handbag.
With my 90-year-old self.
Oh, yes,
too.
yes.
Arm in arm.
Arm in arm. And I would just like come into places and demand things, and people would acquiesce because I'm the 90-year-old version of me.
Because you're 90-year-old Keita Williams.
Right. Why? Who wouldn't? And so, I mean, like, I think that's, I really feel, can't believe you all let me do that. But 90-year-old self with whiskey in my purse. I really hope that I do my 90-year-old self proud. And I wish that I could talk to my 20-year-old self. Oh. You know, like, I think... this is like when I went back through my Google Drive. This is, you know, this is how fancy I am. I have been writing about this for years and did nothing with it, right? And so if I could get in a time machine, I'm sure my 20-year-old self would not listen to 37-year-old self, or even like 25-year-old, 20 anything, and just say, do it. Just do it. Just try. Just don't wait so long. Because I think I got caught up in playing it safe and doing what I was told, which is you go to college, you get a good job, you have a career. I've always known that I was different, you know, and like trying to force your differentness into like these little boxes. So like academia teaches you how to exceed in a box. Corporate America is an extension of academia where you're achieving in someone else's box. And so like, I didn't have many examples of what it was like to live outside of those boxes and to create your own and to like step into it. And so like, if I had that time machine, I would want to tell 20-year-old Keita, 25-year-old Keita, who is probably like way too out of control, like, just like do it. Like, don't worry about the money. Yep. Don't worry about what your friends and your family are going to say. Just try. And worst case scenario, get a damn job. Like literally the worst case scenario is get a job. And so I think that if I could go the other direction, that's what I would do.
Right. I love that. Just knowing that the universe does kind of take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
The title of that
you know,
book,
it all works out. Like in the middle of the storm, you're like, what is going on? Or when you're trying to figure it out, we get so lost in having the answer. And like any young person that'll listen to me, like, you don't have to know right now. Like I think it's unfair to ask a 18 to 20-year-old what they want to be. You haven't lived.
Right. Yeah.
You haven't seen the world. You don't know what you're good at. Really.
Right.
Like, you know, you're good at taking tests, you know? So like, I think it's, I'm really going on a tangent here and y'all keep letting me. But like, I think there's something to be said. You don't have to have the answers. And even now, like, you all would be surprised what kind of stuff I hear just because, like, you know. And it's like, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And it's this big cloud, this, like, whirling dervish of things that are happening. And, like, you know, you don't have to answer that right now. Like, you literally do not have to make a choice on that particular piece of your life right this second.
Yeah. again, put those blinders on, like focus.
You're
And
trying,
go.
like I had a date stand me up on Saturday. I wasn't sitting at the bar and he didn't show up. It was more of he canceled at the last minute. And like I went into like this whole like whirling dervish of I'm 38, I'll never get married. Oh, I'm gonna die alone with cats. Right? I'm not. Like, settle down. Like, you do not have to have the answer on this. And as a matter of fact, you have other stuff going on that's pretty cool. So yeah, like kind of the pull oneself back.
I love that. So, Keita, if our listeners want to get in touch with you or learn more about you, what's the best way for them to do that?
The interwebs.
They're
Harness
handy.
the power of the interwebs. I know I can be found at successbully.com. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at successbully. I have a whirling dervish of a podcast myself, and that's
right.
also Success Bully. It's pretty straightforward, you know. If
Success Bully is the thing.
it's all there.
Great.
And that's how I can be found.
Great. And we'll have all those links in our show
Yes,
notes when
I would
we
appreciate
publish the podcast. So that's great. Keita, this has been fantastic.
Well, thank you.
So thank you so much for coming on
you for
the
having
Career
me.
Q. For all of our listeners, we'll have the contact information for Keita on thecareerq.com in the listener notes.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Be sure to head on over to thecareerq.com where you can get more information, show notes, and related articles to today's topic. Also, if you like what you're hearing, head on over to iTunes, subscribe to the podcast, and make sure you leave us a rating and review. We'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks again.
The Career Q podcast is produced by Lens Group Media and recorded at the Riveter in the lovely Seattle, Washington.
You got to do that again. You got to land the plane.